I wanted to always like kind of do something about sports and sports as a political tool, So that
Yeah.
is like kind of what really this show is about.
So, hi, I'm Jonathan Bloomberg, writing for movies in Sweden.
Okay.
Yeah. I received the episodes yesterday, but I've seen seven already. So that shows you just how invested I already am in this show. Uh, so if we start from the beginning, what made you want to be a part and do this show? You directed five episodes, so that's quite a
Well,
lot.
I first of all, the first thing what I did, I chose a director, a co-director, which is a friend of mine. I
Yeah,
produced a film for him. So that's always a good thing, and I admire his work. So that was that, and it's a German, and he, lives in London, right? But the real reason why I made this show, I wanted to always like kind of do something about sports and sports as a political tool, So that
yeah,
is like kind of what really this show is about. Because whatever has to do with sports is in the show, and what's not has to do anything with sports is not in the show. You know what I mean? And it's
yeah,
like,
yeah,
and it's for me kind of interesting, just to see uh, nobody was allowed to bet, everybody betted. It was
yeah,
just like kind of, there was like all these, like kind of weird things in Rome, and so Rome is for me like just a super fascinating like kind of civilization or
yeah,
culture, and I would love to do more of that stuff in other
yeah,
seasons.
yeah. A lot of people, when they've been trying to describe this show without having seen it first, maybe say, "Oh, it's this gladiator show," but I kind of feel more like you're saying this is a sports show, and it's more about like racing, race cars,
Yeah.
but during that time. And I found that very interesting because
Well,
that hasn't been told as much, I feel like.
yeah, and also like kind of, you know what? It's like I kind of said to myself, because I knew already that Ridley is trying to is doing Gladiator 2. So I kind of said, why, But horse racing was also much bigger than anything else. I
Yeah,
mean, they were like kind of they kind of they treated these horses like kind of they're like kind of people, or
yeah,
sports people, I mean, so that's was interesting for me. And also um it's I kind of just liked this idea to show um like like sports, in the Circus Maximus in its full size. But there's a lot of white shots in my kind of show. And why? Because I wanted to always understand or like see 250,000 people. You know what
yeah,
I mean? Alone
yeah,
the
yeah.
sound of that, is incredible.
Yeah, and this show doesn't hold back either. I feel like if this had been made like 10 years ago, you probably couldn't have shown as much as we get to see here. It's like during those gladiator fights that we do get, they are brutal, and you show things being cut off, but there was also a lot of nudity and things like that in this as well. And I feel like this is a show that maybe couldn't have been done. Well, I know
Yeah, but like
Rome was made before,
yeah,
but
yeah, but like you know what? It's also like uh, I have to kind of credit a technique called volume stage. and we shot on a volume stage, which is a huge TV screen, more or less,
Yeah.
which is 8 meters high and and expansive and high definition. And we shot 108 days with that in that stage,
Yeah.
meaning we had to rebuild and did this and so this went. We started there, and at the end we like kind of the last 4 weeks was like kind of only there. So
I see. Yeah.
it was this kind of amazing kind of thing what I discovered actually first time I worked on a volume stage, and I love it. And so that was also like the only way to kind of make this show work.
Yeah. Do you feel like that kind of technology being available now, if you would have had that available for any of your previous big budget movies, which one would you have had liked to use it in the most from the
Oh,
ones that
like
you've done previous?
I think it's for any one of them, because this is like a technique which is incredible, because you like kind of get the natural reflections. There is no compositing necessary anymore. And when you like make a little smoke and kind of light it in a certain way, you like kind of totally in the scene. And for the actors, it's fucking awesome, because they're like kind of also in this. So they sometimes come over to my monitor and say, "Oh my God, this looks amazing,"
Yeah,
and
already. Yeah.
already, and no, whatever you produce, this is what's there. There's very little you have to kind of and we created 1,800 shots only with this technology. And then we had 700 other shots, but that made it work, and also for the budget possible.
Yeah, I always wanted to ask about working with Anthony Hopkins in the role of the Emperor. So how was it when you kind of got him involved with the project?
I had like kind of him on the list, right? And he was the first name. And I
Yeah,
said, I will never get him, because he was for me perfect. And he said yes. And I was like, I had a hard time believing it. And so at one point, he called me, and he was so into playing Vespasian. It's unbelievable. And yeah, and he kind of does such an amazing job, in this show,
yeah, for
because
sure. And
he plays him stern. They
yeah,
wanted
yeah.
to be stern.
Yeah, of course. And one other who does a really good job in the show is Ivan, uh, who, who
Yeah.
who gets one of the most important parts of the show, I feel like. So how was it to kind of track what you wanted to do with his character on the show?
Well, like he is kind of a cool guy, because whatever he does, uh, he kind of kills people, but he's nice to the kids. You know,
Yeah,
he grew up with them, right? And then he slowly gets more and more emotional, or more a human in a weird way. And then he learns that he may be a patrician. That's like how his story, and he goes through a lot of things. There's this guy who wants to kill him, but through him he learns that. Yeah, I thought this was a fascinating part to play, and I think Ivan played it perfectly.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, and you've done so many movies throughout your career that I've absolutely loved. Independence Day was one of my favorite movies in the 90s for a long time. Uh, and I'm wondering now, when you kind of done this TV show, do you feel like TV is where the heat is at, or is movie still
Yeah,
your main job?
Yeah, but it became a little that, since Game of Thrones, everybody kind of sees TV in a different way. You
Yeah,
know, TV is not cheap anymore. It is because also naturally certain techniques, allow you to make bigger stuff, and they also spend overspending sometimes. Like I think the sequel to Game of Thrones was unnecessary. What can I say?
yeah,
And well, and then the other was it who has it? Amazon like was like doing Lord of the Rings. I mean, why that? I mean, there's endlessly Lord of the Rings available. And anyhow, but it has changed, and I think directors like me will now like go you know into like TV,
yeah.
because it's really it's awesome, to work like on a longer format. I mean, it's my first one, and so I'm really excited about it.
Yeah, I loved it, as I said. So thanks a lot for taking your time to speak with me today. And